stop at 45, right?
Right.
So just a little bit, a little story. Nothing fancy on me, because you probably detected an accent, right? A little accent. Oh,
I'm thinking either New Jersey or New York.
Ah, close. You're getting close. Mais pas vraiment. C'est un peu plus loin, français. Oui, un peu français, mais it's actually a native. It's a native. It's from Belgium. Where did you live from Belgium? Belgium. Who knows where Belgium is on a map? Yeah, it's close to France. Yeah, good. Your job is a neighbor. Exactly. So, 1966. That's where my story starts, right? Oh boy, I'm pushing 50. That's me right here with my dad and my brother. I must have been 4 years old. This picture must have been taken in 1970, I think, in Belgium. Keep going, Dick. So, 1982. What's special about that? No, I was 16 years old, and next slide, please. That's where I got my first wake-up call. I'll never forget it. I was sitting right in the front row of the classroom, and this teacher was talking to another teacher. It's funny how you remember things. You know how when you get older, you remember those one single events. That you can pinpoint back, and you can say that was a major change in my life. That teacher walked forward and he pointed at me like this. I'm not saying what you are, but he pointed at me, and he's like, if you don't pay attention, Bert, you're not going to make it this year. And this was kind of like towards the end of the year, school year. And he said, well, you're going to end up in this school right there. And that was like a school nobody wanted to go to. It was like, oh boy, fights all the time, and he didn't want to go to that school. So I really made a 180. I really started hitting the books, and boy, I was, when I came home, instead of throwing my back there, I started studying. And I made it. I graduated with a degree in architectural design. So that was pretty cool. So fast forward, 1984, let's see. I was about to embark on, what do you guys call this? High school? Is it college? After first college and then high school, right?
High school.
Yeah, I don't know how the school system works here in the U.S. With us, it's a whole different terminology we're using. So I had to make a decision. What would I do after this degree that I had? So that was the year when the Commodore 64 came out. Who remembers that? Who's ever seen this? Commodore 64. We have a few nerds here in the audience. Yeah. Well, that's good. Nerds are cool. Nerds are cool. Commodore 64, Santa Claus bought this for me. Actually, I suspect it was my dad. But this basically changed my life. It really got me into computers. I was fascinated when this thing came out and what you could do with it, and had a little tape recorder next to it, and you could write little programs. And this thing, of course, obviously has 64 kilobits of RAM. So if you think about that, the Mac that stop right there. The Mac that I'm doing this off right there is 8 gigs. So let's put this in perspective. Yeah, next, please. If the Earth represents 64 kilobits, then the size of the Sun in relation to the Earth would be only 7 megs. You have to go to 1024 to get to a gig. So we're talking, that computer back in those days, it was phenomenal. So that same year, first one of the first games, actually the first video game ever came out. And yeah, the Santa was very nice. I must have been boring, I guess. And we got this. Mine was orange, bright orange. We had 2 paddles. Me and my brother, we were playing, next please. We were playing this game all the time. I mean, you get the 2 little thingies, right? You know the game. You get the little. You still have one? Hang on, 2600 settings. We work a lot of money. That's fun. That was fun. But again, that reinforced my passion about computers. I was like, wow, can you do that? Can you really do that? So I embarked on high school or college. I'm sorry, what was it called again? College. Thank you. College, and I was gonna do programming system analyst. That was pretty. I was aiming high. I was gonna become a programmer. I wanted to do this. of this. First year, now you have to remember, if you study programming system analyst, there's a lot of math. I remember 12 hours of math a week, and I'm talking advanced trigonometry, Boolean algebra, statistics, I mean the whole enchilada, right? And this number right here, again, a moment in my life I'll never forget. First year, I failed. This was my score. And your scores are different. You guys work with letters, A, B, C. We work with numbers. 1,000 is the maximum. 500 is your cutoff for the year. You can't redo during the summer months. If you have between 500 and 600, you can still redo your first year. If you practice, then you can do your test and you can move on to the second year. If you're under 500, you don't even have that chance. Basically, you blew it. Okay? And how much is that shy of 500? 13. Lucky 13 or not. That number's been following me my whole life. So that was, again, a wake-up call. I'll never forget the moment when I opened that letter and I looked at that number for you. So I can pinpoint where I sat when I opened that letter. So I failed. Again, next. Second wake-up call. I'm sitting in my office, my room, my bedroom, / office. My dad standing in the door, looks at me and says, "Bart, I'm going to give you one more chance. If you blow it this time, you're going to go and find a job. And off you go. You're on your own." And he turned around and walked away. 15 seconds. Again, it's imprinted in my memory for the rest of my life. I was like, this is for real. I mean, if I blow it now, it's, I got to go and find a job. And so, again, a 180, I finished my second time around with 730 points, which I think for me was pretty good compared to 483. So I made it. Second year I made it, I graduated with a degree, a diploma in programming system analyst. So, life is great, right? Off we go to the workforce. But guess what? Guess what? No jobs. No jobs. Market was saturated with programmers, really smart kids, smarter than me, that really wanted to be a programmer. And I realized, do I really want to do this and sit every day behind a computer and write program code? No, that's not what I want. So even though I had this diploma, it didn't work out. So in 1990, I sat myself down and I said to myself, okay, what am I going to do? I got 2 diplomas, don't have a job, this is not working. So I asked myself a fundamental question. I said, what are you good at? What? And then the other question was, what do you like to do? What do you want to do the rest of your life? And the answer came immediately to me because I'm passionate about what I do. Graphics, designing, drawing, anything with art. So I studied. I went back to school and I got a degree in graphic design. I would sit in a classroom like this, 5, 6 years older. I was the oldest in the class. Everybody was looking at me, what's this old guy doing here? So ever since then, the day I graduated, I got a job with a company that I still work for to this day. Now it's called ESCO, but back in those days it was called esko-graphics, Belgian-American radio company. So I would say that, during the first 10 years, I traveled quite a lot. I've visited all these countries here that are highlighted in blue. So one week I'm in South Africa. Next week I'm in North Africa. Then I'm in Venice. Then I'm in Italy. Then I'm in India. Then I'm in Africa again. Then I'm flying out to New York. Then I'm flying back. I mean, it was 90% travel for about 10 years. Every week, another country. Going to companies, demoing the software, installing the software, training the software. It was phenomenal. It was the best years of my life. I mean, it was traveling, to see the world and getting paid to do that. It's like, wow. So
That's it?
No, more. Keep going. Wait a second. Keep going.
Oh.
Another one. So you think, here's a couple of snapshots during those 10 years. Company that in Sweden here, this is Rome. In North Africa, Istanbul, Thailand, England, Bath, Egypt, Cairo. Spent a lot of time in Cairo. So just a few snapshots of me in those first 10 years. Next. So then in '93, next please, I actually May 23rd, I was not kidnapped, right? That you see these people holding us newspapers. This is May 23rd, '98. That's when I took the decision to leave to the U.S. I always liked the United States. I kind of liked the attitude, you know, California, laid back, you know, I kind of liked America, the big, you know, vast landscape. So the rest, as they say, is history, right? Made very good money, drive a nice car, and another car. And this is the house. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not my house. And next, please. So, am I successful? I would say so. But one thing I never do is measure success by my title or how much money I make. That's the one thing I really don't do, which in America, too often people judge somebody or people look up to somebody based on their title or how much money they make. For me, success is something completely different. It's about, and this is where it began, right? I must have been a little bit older than that girl in that picture, but that's where it begins. It begins with hard work. And I would like to leave you with actually 0 minutes left on the clock. Is 3 words. First word is passion. If I could give you an advice, then it is be passionate about what you do and look for that passion, right? That's what I did. I set myself down. I was a complete failure. I had all these diplomas and it didn't work. So I figured out and I asked myself, what are you passionate about? And I believe that every single one of you have something deep inside yourself, you know, something that you're really good at. You got to find that. And when you find it and you nurture it, it's like a relationship, you'll excel. It's passion. Be passionate about what you do. Second word is perseverance, right? How many times did I fail? A lot. Even the moment when I thought, now I'm on a roll, I failed, right? I remember writing 100 letters to companies to apply for a job. I got 10 letters back, and from those 10, I had 1 invitation. Did I ever quit? No. I kept going. Keep going. And then the last word I like to leave you with is connect. Connect. Why? Because we're not isolated. Connect with people, with friends, with teachers, with your parents, because you cannot make it by yourself. Trust me. You need other people to help you. And if I strip everything away, all the money, all the cars, everything, then there's only one thing that truly is important, that really sticks out for me, and that's family. That's my daughter and our little puppy. So I really want to thank you, and I hope that somebody in the audience here found some good information in my story. I wanted to share that with you, and thanks for listening. And have a great rest of the day.